This story takes us to Kansas City, where we discuss the story of a man by the name of Dennis RADER, whose rampage of terror would go on unnoticed for 30 years. Dennis Lynn RADER was born on March 9, 1945, as the oldest of 4 boys in Pittsburgh, Kansas City. He would grow up in a fairly humble home in Wichita, the same city which he would later terrorize. He had a pretty unremarkable childhood. His mother worked at a grocery store while his father worked at the railroad. They were described as very laid-back and normal people. Although it was alleged that when RADER was in his teenage years, he would hang and torture stray animals. After RADER graduated from the university, he spent 4 years in the United States Air Force as a mechanic, after which he returned to Kansas City to settle down. In the month of May 1971, he got married to a local girl called Paula Dietz, and he went on to carry on his double life while also looking like the perfect family man to his neighbors. He would be driving down the street and see a woman and mark her as his target. He was known to stalk his victims for days and months before striking. It was in this small town of Wichita that Dennis would go on to pick his first victim. On the 15th day of January 1974, while his wife Paula was sleeping, Dennis RADER broke into the home of the Otero family and murdered every person inside of the house. The parents, Joseph and Julie Otero, were brutally murdered, while the children, 11-year-old Josephine and 9-year-old Joseph Otero Jr., were forced to watch. The little girl cried out while she watched RADER strangle her mother to death. She was then later dragged down into the basement, where RADER pulled off her underwear and hung her from a sewer pipe. He watched her choked to death, masturbating while she died. He then proceeded to take pictures of the dead bodies and gathered up some of the little girl's underwear as a memento of his first kill.
There was evidence with Joey, who was 9, that he put the bags and whatnot over Joey's head to suffocate slowly, and that he drew up a chair to sit and watch. When he finally realized he had, the parents and the boy dead, he takes Josephine, the 11-year-old girl, down to the basement and hangs her.
The bodies would go on to be discovered by the 3 older siblings of the Otero family when they got back from school that day.
Older children came back from school and they discovered their parents.
I ran down the hall, went in their bedroom, and saw my mother on the bed, my father on the floor. My heart just got ripped out of my chest. My life changed instantly.
11-year-old Josephine Otero will be bound with rope, and she's hanging just off the floor.
These killings will be the first in his rampage of killings that spanned over 30 years. Dennis RADER, after killing the Otero family, went back home to his wife to get ready for church. He was, after all, the church council president. Just a few months after the Oteros, he struck at his next victim. RADER stalked and waited in the apartment of a young college student named Catherine Bright before he stabbed and strangled her. At the time, he was not expecting Catherine's brother in the house, and he would go on to shoot her brother Kevin twice and stab Catherine several times, thereby killing her. Although Kevin would later survive, he went on to describe RADER as having psychotic eyes, but he really couldn't give much information to the investigators to help them catch the serial killer.
If I had brought my stuff and used my stuff, Kevin would probably be dead today.
All right.
I'm not bragging on that. It's just a matter of fact. It's the bonds I tied him up with that he broke them. So, and that,
all right.
And maybe same with Catherine. It got out of
In October 1974, RADER would introduce himself to the police. RADER's first interaction with the police would occur in October 1974, after a young man allegedly confessed to killing the Oteros with his 2 friends an editor at the Wichita Eagle, would receive a strange phone call that directed him to a book at the Wichita Public Library. The police finds this book and a letter hidden inside. This letter would mention to the police that the people they had in custody were not the actual killer. The letter further read, "The code words for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them. BTK. The next time you see these words, they will be on the next victims." He also told the police, "If you don't catch me, more people will die." He also went on to include unknown details of the Otero killings, and this letter would help the authorities to recognize the killer's peculiar way of writing and his signature.